Berlin. The evening of November 9, 1989. The city was divided, its heart split by concrete and wire, watched by guards, in towers, shrouded in decades of suspicion and fear. Yet, on this night, something electric swept through the streets, a feeling as if the world itself was holding its breath. For decades, the wall had stood as the symbol of the Cold War, a line that not only cut Berlin in half, but seemed to cleave the globe into two, East and West, oppression and freedom. To cross the wall was to risk everything. For those on the eastern side, the wall was part of daily life, an ever-present reminder of borders not meant to be crossed. Jens Schneider was a 24-year-old engineering student living in East Berlin. Like so many others, he had grown up in the walls, shadow-visiting family in the West only in his dreams, watching West German television, secretly, hungrily. That fall, Jens had felt the first tremors of change. Protests in Leipzig, Czechoslovakia easing restrictions, state media that couldn't keep up with the rumors, but still, the wall felt eternal. Meanwhile, on the western side, Anja Fischer, 29, worked at a small radio station in Crumbled. For her, the wall was a frustration and a scar, but also a fixture by now, something she could almost ignore. The border crossings, the strange quiet dividing one neighborhood from the next. Life went on, but always in the wall's long shadow. That day, the East German Politburo, worn down by weeks of protests and mounting pressure, gathered for what seemed a routine press announcement. At a crowded news conference, spokesman Gunter Schabowski shuffled his notes and mumbled something about new travel regulations. At first, no one was sure what it meant. But then a journalist asked, "When does this take effect?" Schabowski, confused, replied, "As far as I know, immediately." It was 7:00 p.m. Word spread at the speed of rumor. The wall was open. Could it be true? Jens heard the news from a neighbor, who'd heard it from a friend, who'd heard it over Italian television. In West Berlin, Angas' newsroom exploded with excitement. They scrambled to translate the announcement, broadcasting it on every frequency. The border is open. Skepticism lingered. Memories of gunfire, failed escapes, and the steady stare of the Stasi haunted everyone. But a crowd began to gather at Bornholmer Strage, the northernmost checkpoint between East and West. Jens stepped into the night, joining the river of people headed for the wall. He didn't know if he would be turned back, arrested, or worse. He only knew something had shifted. Guards at the checkpoint were unprepared. The crowd's dozens, then hundreds, then thousands pressed closer. Chanting tore off, "Open the gate!" The officers, confounded by contradictory orders, phoned their superiors for guidance. Silence. Some threatened to shoot, but the crowd, fueled by a strange new courage, did not back away. At 11:30 p.m., a captain named Harold Giger, fearing a massacre and overwhelmed by the pushing, made an unprecedented decision. "We're opening the barrier," he told his men. The first East Berliners rushed through the crossing, blinking under the neon lights of West Berlin. Jens was among them, feeling the crunch of gravel, the rising laughter, the disbelief. Strangers embraced in the street. In Kreuzberg, Anja raced toward the wall. She saw the streams of East Berliners pouring over the border, many weeping openly, some trembling, reunited with friends and family lost for decades. The city, which had once looked away, now flocked to welcome them. Through the night, other checkpoints followed Bornholmer Strage's example. Brandenburg Gate, Checkpoint Charlie, Invalidan Strage. One by one, they gave way to the tide. People climbed the wall itself, dancing atop it, chiseling away, souvenir fragment. Champagne corks flew. TV crews caught every moment, broadcasting the news to a stunned, elated world. By morning, the Berlin Wall, the most infamous barrier of the 20th century, was breached by the will and courage of ordinary people. West Berliners handed out flowers and chocolate. Strangers handed each other chisels and hammers. Tens of thousands filled the streets, east and west, indistinguishable in the Jens found himself on the steps of a Western department store, dazed by the abundance. He was penniless, but someone pressed a 5-mark note into his hand. "Welcome," the stranger said, voice thick with joy. Angar spent the morning interviewing new arrivals, their stories tumbling out faster than she could record them, of old wounds, new hope, and the sense that history had finally bent toward freedom. The wall did not fall in a single night, but that night it began to crumble, brought down, not by politicians or armies, but by the steady courage of a people who had learned to dream again. And as dawn rose over Berlin, a new city and a new world was beginning to be born.